this might not seem like an obvious song to play, especially not on a single acoustic guitar, but I find this really useful in the classroom for all sorts of reasons. It's in 12/8, which is a less common time signature, but very typical of songs of this type. I've done a video on Blueberry Hill, which uses the same 12/8 signature. That's 4 beats in the bar, each one split into 3, so da 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 da. We'll have a look at the picking and strumming implications of that. We'll also have a look at something called alternating bass. I've done a video on alternating bass, which we can incorporate into both the picking and the strumming. And if you're at all interested in the way chords work, perhaps from a point of view of a songwriter, then this song is a really good example of the way secondary dominants work, the kind of mechanics of chords, functional harmony around secondary dominants. This is a really good song to pull apart. And again, I've done a video on secondary dominants. So look, there's lots to get into, despite this being a fairly simple song. So let's start by sketching out the chords, and then we'll get on and look at the details. Now, we've got 16 bars that kind of repeat. So the first half and the second half start the same way and finish differently. We've got 2 bars. I'm doing this in the key of G, by the way. The original's in E flat. This doesn't really suit my voice in E flat, so I'm doing it in G, and it works really nicely on the guitar. Obviously, put a capo where you like, or try a different group of chords. Anyway, I'm here. Only you, 2, 3, 4, and again. Can make this world seem right. So that's now 2 bars of B7. Only you, and 2 bars of E minor. Can make G7 the darkness bright. Okay, now if you've got those 8 bars together, 2 of G, 2 of B7, 2 of E minor, and 2 of G7, they repeat in a moment, so that's literally half the song done. Anyway, we carry on in the first half with a bar each of C and D7. Only you and you alone. Now we get half a bar each of G and B7, and then half a bar each of E minor and E7. Can thrill me like you do. You can hear that B7 leading to E minor, and then the E7 leads to 2 bars of A7. Fill my heart with love for only you. And we're finished with the first half of the song. So we carry on again with our 8 bars that we had at the beginning. Only you, 2, 3, 4, and again. Can make this change in me. Yes, it's true. You are my destiny. Now the final 8 bars are a bit different. We've got a bar of C. When you hold my hand, and classic, this is chord 4 minor. I understand C minor then, and then we've got our G, magic, B7 to E minor, to E7, do. Then we've got a bar of A7, a bar of D7. You're my dream come true, my one and only. And again, chord 1, G, 4 minor, back to chord 1. Classic sequence. Okay, but we need to add some rhythm to that. The simplest thing we can do perhaps is just to strum it, and as I say, we've got 12/8, so it's da-ga-da-da-ga-da-da-ga-da-da-ga-da. Now I'm going to do down, up, down on each beat, so that's going to be down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. And I'm just emphasizing the first of each group of 3. If that feels a bit insistent, which it does, then maybe we can vary it. Maybe on the second beat, we can just focus on the upper strings and again on the 4th beat. So we'll have the lower strings on 1 and 3. We get something like a kind of bass and treble difference there. More bassy on 1, more treble on 2, and again on 3 and 4. So if we play the whole thing through with this strumming, we're going to get only you can make this world seem right. Only you When you hold my hand, I understand the magic that you do. You're my dream come true, my one and only you. Alright, so far so good. You'll notice as we get to the middle of the song on that D7 there's a break. Fill my heart with love for only you. Da, 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 da. And as I'm playing those, I'm bringing the palm of my hand down to mute the strings. Only you. And so on. Now, I mentioned alternating bass, and this is a device that you can add to strumming or picking. It's more usually associated with picking. That's just going to add a bit of interest in the bass. And what happens is you play the normal bass note, so the example of G, for instance, and then you're going to alternate to another note. So I'm playing the open, so I'm playing the 6th string, and then the open 4th string. And there's actually a very simple rule around alternating bass. It's this. If you can, you're going to move to the next string down on the same fret. So this is an example of a C. My bass note is on the 5th string on the 3rd fret normally. So I'd move to the 6th string on the 3rd fret. Next string down on the same fret. Okay, for D7, which is an open 4th string, I'm going to go down to the open 5th string. That's the basics of alternating bass. But of course, if your bass note is already on the 6th string, you haven't got any more strings to move down to. But the good news is there are really only 2 kinds of chords where that happens. There's a G chord, and in that case, as we've already seen, we're going to move from 6 to 4. And then the other kind of chord is E chords, whether it's E or E7 or E minor, doesn't matter. And in that case, 6 to 5. Okay, for E7, 6 to 5. So where you can, move your normal bass note down a string on the same fret. And when you can't, it's because you're playing a G chord or because you're playing an E chord. If you're playing a G chord, it's 6 to 4. If you're playing an E chord, it's 6 to 5. Now you could try to incorporate this into your strumming by picking the bass note. So rather than you could actually have the thumb picking the bass note. To say that's not easy to do. Give it a go, but you might like to try this over a picking pattern instead. And because we're in 12/8, we've got 12 places to pick, if you like, in the bar. And what I would probably do is this. So my 3 fingers are on the top 3 strings, 1st finger on the 3rd string, 2nd finger on the 2nd string, 3rd finger on the top string, and I'm going to pick whatever the bass note is, or the alternating bass note, with my thumb. Twice in the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I do that with alternating bass, only you can make the world seem right. Only you can make the darkness bright. Only you and you alone can thrill me like you do. Fill my heart with love for only you. Only you can make this change in me. Yes, it's true. You are my destiny. When you hold my hand, I my dream come true, my one and only you. Okay, a couple of thoughts about this. At the end of the third line, you and you alone, we get G to B7. Thrill me like you do. Going to E minor and then to E7. Well, the alternating bass note for B7 is this F sharp on the second fret of the bottom string. We haven't got time to alternate, but if you play only the alternating note, so B7 with that F sharp in the bass, you're going to transition more smoothly from the G to the E minor. Thrill me like you do, rather than da-da. We get a nice little rundown, kind of a passing bass note. Play that or don't play that, doesn't really matter. And when we get to the E minor, we've only got 2 beats of E minor, but then E7 for 2 beats completes the bar. And in fact, because those bass notes are the same, the alternating bass notes are also the same, you could play 2 beats of E minor, then 2 beats of E7, but with the alternating note B in the bass. Thrill me like you do. So a little bit more interest there. For the A7, and this is something to think about, obviously the alternating bass should be 5 to 6. But if your E string, particularly if your strings aren't particularly new and the sound isn't very crisp, it might sound a bit muddy down there. You can always move from 5 to 4 because you've got the same note an octave higher. That's an E now, second fret of the 4th string. So if you're playing an A chord, A7, A minor 7, alternating up from 5 to 4 rather than going down from 5 to 6, that's something to think about. Okay, one last thing here in the picking is that if in the original we've got da 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 in the piano, and we could do something like that here. I'm just taking my 3 picking fingers, doing that with it. I might try adding the alternating bass with that. Only you can make the world seem right. Oh, it's true. I die, 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 die. Da, 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 da. Okay, that's just an idea. It's more like the original, and if you want to create something that feels authentic, despite the fact that you've got a single guitar, that might be the thing that really makes the feel. And finally, one last thing. We've actually got the intro here, and the original is... So I'm playing a D7 this way. I could play it here, but then I've got a C sharp 7 after it. This is how I want to play this. This is like a C shape, little finger on the 3rd fret of the 3rd string for C7. I'm going to move all that up 2 frets, and I'm not going to play the outer 2 strings. So I'm really focusing just on the middle 4 strings. And it's da-ga da da-ga da da-ga da da-ga da dum. Da-ga da da-ga da da-ga da da-ga da dum. In fact, if you wanted to play the original intro figure as it is on an electric guitar, it's this. As far as I can tell, I'm here up on the 11th, 10th and 10th frets of the top 3 strings. And then there's a slide down. Obviously on the original, it's in the key of E flat, so it would be here for a B flat. And a slide down makes more sense, but if you want to play it in our key, only you. But for me, I'm going to stick here, D7, C sharp 7, and back to D, and that ends on the first beat of the next bar, and then we get a whole bar before we come in. To only you, and so on. All right, let's have a playthrough. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Only you can make this world seem right. Only you can make the darkness bright. Only you, and you alone, can thrill me like you do. Fill my heart with love for only you. Only you can make this change in me. Yes, it's true. You are my destiny. When you hold my hand, I understand the magic that you do. You're my dream come true, my one and only you. And that's it.